So you're in good hands, man.
Yeah,
I can
we
tell
got you
this
back.
is going to go well.
Tim needs to drink more often.
I can tell this is going to go well. All right, things are up. Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 89 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the #1 podcast in Canada. We're recording on July 17th.
Sean,
Hey.
you're at the top.
I'm at the top. What's up with this? Okay. Hey, guys. I'm Sean, Father One, IPSC IDPA 3-gun competitor, CCFR Saskatchewan director, and staunch firearms advocate.
Nice. I'm Gavin, business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, content provider for Toxic Kodiak Pathfinders, and host of the Greater Toronto Area chapter of the Tactical Beard Owners Club.
Your beard friends.
Yep.
I'm Tim, owner and operator of Tim's Good T-shirts. They're quite good. I'm also a sports shooter and a rabid beer enthusiast and the proud descendant of beer-drinking immigrants.
Very nice. I'm Marty, hunter, sports shooter in rural southern Ontario.
As always, I'm your host. My name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, a competitive shooter, and today I suffer from internet disconnection syndrome. I'm really hoping my doctor can give me a pill.
I'm pretty sure there is, so don't worry. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show, especially how terrible Andrew's internet is today, and if it's better or worse than Marty's. So please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Edited version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes. And if you use iTunes, we'd really love some more of those 5-star reviews because it's been a little while. And in the comment section, put down something you'd like me to drink for an episode.
All right, and as always, check out the podcast at facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast or Instagram at instagram.com/podcast.
We need your help to support the show. Visit www.patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get the uncensored audio version of the show for just $1 per episode, 1 loonie per episode. And the more you pledge, the better the rewards are.
All right, let's go into what are we drinking.
What do we do at this point?
We talk about what we're drinking. We'll start with Gavin.
I am drinking the Crown Maple and Coke Zero this evening.
Marty, what are you drinking?
The very same thing.
Original. Sean, what are you drinking?
I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to go Crown Apple and Coke Zero.
Nice.
Because I'm different.
No, excellent choice. Excellent choice.
I haven't had the apple yet.
You're missing out, buddy. The best of the flavored crowns.
You're not missing out. Stick with the maple. It's good for you.
Yeah. So, Andrew,
Apple's
are you
refreshing.
drinking the banquets out of the stubbies, Andrew? Like,
It's not my turn yet, I don't think. But yes, I am drinking the official beer of the Right Wing Death Squad. I'm drinking Coors Banquet out of the stubbiest of bottles.
stubbiest of bottles. Keep your head down. And I'm drinking Rickard's Red because it laces beautifully.
Amazing. Did we ask Sean, what are you drinking?
He's
Yes,
drinking
you did.
Crown Apple.
Crown Apple.
Yes.
Okay. Tim went out of order, and I got confused, and things
Apparently, we've all
happened.
been drinking heavily before the show's even started.
I don't touch him. I just point him.
Considering that we read the same intro week after week, we're still really bad at this.
Yeah,
But
it should just be a soundbite. I just go, Marty hits a key.
But Andrew was 9 minutes late, so he can't excuse our drunk, or he has to excuse our drunking. So.
It's true, I was late because my internet.
Correctly. That's
Yeah, pronunciation is highly overrated. I do have something fun to share before we go into the rest of the show. I'm looking at the Patreon numbers because I was curious.
Ooh.
Guess how much money we get from Patreon?
We need your help to support the show. Visit www.
No, that's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing.
Okay, just let me know when we're live.
I'm looking at the processing fees for the last couple of months, and we get 88% of every loonie that you donate. That's pretty
amazing. Amazing. Hey,
Oh,
we had somebody that we owed a T-shirt to, right?
I do believe Ian has been taking. Was it Ian? Yes, I think it was. Ooh, I can't dox him. I know who it was. Sorry, we're gonna go with Ian as his first name. I can't tell you who it was.
All right. Well, send me their info,
is it
and I
Ian
will.
Kadar?
Yes, yes, it is. Send me their info, and I'll do up their drawing for them and Trudeau.
Okay, we'll have to deal with some PerSec stuff to get that, but yeah, we'll figure it out. You know who you are.
Everyone turn off your internet for 2 minutes.
Yeah, plug your ears and do this. La 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 la.
La 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 la.
But we'll do that. Or if you want a drawing of somebody that you like or don't like with Trudeau, I will be happy to do that for you if you are listening. So, but I knew that there was one person that I was missing. So let me know what you want a drawing of with Trudeau, and I will do my best to make that happen for you.
It has to be
Right on.
a giant rubber duck, right?
That can happen. I could do that.
Ooh, like a Soviet commissar, though. He's giant duck. We need your help to support the show. Visit www.patreon.com/PCC. Become a Patreon.
No. I'm gonna push this button. And then we can go into the main show.
Yeah.
We're gonna spend some time talking about my favorite terrorist, Omar Kadar.
Is he really your favorite, though? Like, I mean, there's a lot to pick from these days.
Kahada?
Well, he-
Kadir. Sorry. Oh,
Yeah,
we
that
lost
guy.
Andrew. Oh, there he is.
There. Okay, nobody picnic.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that guy that's been in the news a lot lately for, receiving some money for some stuff.
Yeah, a significant amount of money.
Yeah. Not just a drop in the bucket.
No, more money than I could make between the ages of 15 and my ripe old age. No matter how many T-shirts I make to hide my tax money.
So I think that could be part of the problem here, though, is that $10.5 million to a liberal is thought they were just tossing him a couple of shekels and away he goes. That they didn't realize that $10.5 million is a lot.
Yeah, rewarding terrorists
it's
from the
worth
hard
less, right?
upward.
You just-
Yeah.
Well, when they're giving, a shitload of money to everybody, and a half is chump change. I mean, that's just some walking around money.
Well, we had mentioned a while back about we should really tear into the federal budget and just go point by point and figure it out. And this is just, I know it's going to be a small derailment, but like we were talking about going right into the federal budget, just really finding out what stupid shit the government is funding. And
terrorism
like,
is
it just-
apparently one of them, yeah.
yes, no, but it wasn't on the budget. But still, they found a way. But they said something about, and the liberals are just like, oh, we're doing this and we're doing that, and it's like $28.7 billion deficit, and then the liberals go, and we're just getting started.
Well, I mean, the size of your deficit is how you show everyone how much you care, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, we're not allowed to whip out our CF-18s, but we are allowed to whip out our deficit and grow it.
You're sending confusing clip signs here. What one do you want to play?
Oh man. Let's go with whip out our CF-18s.
Deficits? Let's go with that.
All right.
You're good. All right.
Whip out our CF-18s and show them how big they are.
All right, there we go.
Not my president.
Good times.
Yeah, but $10.5 million. I mean, that's basically worth the per diem for a liberal politician, right?
Yeah. I mean, how much does it cost to go to like a secret island? Is that $10.5 million? I mean,
Not when the guy's
No, it
paying
was more
for
than
it.
that.
Not when the owner's paying for it.
So how long was Omar in Guantanamo?
3 years? 4
15
years?
years.
3 years? 15 years? Okay. I've been at work for 15 years, and I go there and people in like above me up the old ladder say things like, I'm going to put this where they normally go. And they say that stuff to me. And I'm like, this is torture.
Maybe
I
they're
don't know.
violating your Canadian Charter rights and freedom.
And I don't have $10.5 million to
which
show.
I have a copy of right behind me, right here, actually, which you can get for free from the Canadian government website. But yeah, no, like that's ridiculous. I've been working at my company now for 13 years, so a little shy.
That's
of
unlucky.
15 years, and
Sorry,
and it's my company.
Correct. He was in there for 13 years.
And, well, there you go. So 13 years, bang on. And I haven't made 10.5 million, and it's my, you know, that's a lot of money, you know. And I run a tax shelter, you know, and I still haven't cleared 10.5 million in 13 years. I'm lucky if I'm going to have $1 million to my name when I retire.
Yep. And this guy is buying a multi-million-dollar house in Edmonton with our money.
Well, at least he's keeping it within the country.
All right, I think we're.
Yeah, but so are a
Okay,
whole
we're
bunch of
back
Chinamen too. Oops, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I guess. Look at all the money that's being dumped on in Vancouver, like the cash in there, and then this guy buys a place in, you know, it's just saddens me. Anyway,
Yeah.
Okay. I was absent. I've returned. Did we talk about who this guy is and why I don't like that we're giving him money?
I've
no,
been
we just
repeating
know
the
we
same
were
Patreon
Killing
banter.
time waiting for you to show up.
Yeah.
Ah, Jesus, you guys should just carry on without me. Okay. So, somebody do background on who this asshole is.
All right,
Okay,
what do you want
so-
to know? Should we talk
So I
about
guess.
how?
All right, you take this one, Marty.
All right, so Omar Kadar, he was 15 years old when he was not arrested. What's the word? Captured, I guess, by the U.S. Military after a firefight with the U.S. military. I'll touch on something quickly here because, like, one of the things that have been thrown around is there's been some comments were like, well, you know, we don't really know if it was him. He was just the only one left alive, and so they attributed it to him. On that quickly. So,
well, Marty, he fully admits
in the
that
building.
it's running your game.
I know. Indictment is going around. So, yes, he was the last one alive. He was the last one alive when they entered the building as well. The U.S. forces, there was a firefight going on. They called in air support. Air support bombed the place, which basically killed everybody but him. They then went in on them. They shot him. They ended up shooting the rifle he was using. That's when he grabbed grenades and threw the grenades at the people. So yes, he isn't the default being blamed for it. They know it was him because he was the last one alive. So I just want to, like, it's one of those bullshit things been thrown out there in some of the liberal media. I want to correct that one quickly.
Well, there's a lot of confusion and back and forth stories, and there's the testimony he gave under torture in Guantanamo, and people, you've really got to do your own research. You can't just listen to what the goddamn media says. But like, this is someone who was fighting alongside Al Qaeda in Afghanistan, alongside with Al Qaeda.
And his father was a high-ranking official, a high-ranking Al Qaeda associate.
Yeah, he was funneling money to Al Qaeda.
Through
One
Canada.
He was a financier, wasn't he?
Wait, I guess we should also kind of maybe give a little bit of background as to why we're even talking about this. But like,
About the first family of terrorism in Canada.
yeah,
See, there's a lot of stuff that he admits to, and every time someone mentions that Omar Kadar admitted to something, everyone goes, "Well, he was under torture." It's like, no, this is shit he's admitting to, in a documentary done after he was released and a free person.
Correct.
Yeah,
You know.
but
So,
I mean,
like-
he is a Canadian
Yes, sir.
citizen. Is I guess a key part that I think we've
Yeah.
kind of missed in this whole thing, and that's why that we're even
Thank you.
bothering to talk about this.
Now,
That was the thing that I wanted to bring up.
was he born in Canada? Do we know?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
What was Sean's
so-
question?
Was he born in
Canada?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he is a
He is
natural-born
Canadian.
Canadian
He was
citizen.
He was as
Correct.
Canadian as Mark Le Pen and Michael Zehoff-Bibbo.
Whoa.
Okay.
That's-
So to
that's
quickly
pushing it.
summarize, I mean, he was, as pretty well everybody that's listening to this podcast is aware, he was awarded $10.5 million due to him spending time in Guantanamo Bay. Now, his guilt is not a part of this settlement. Yes,
No,
he
this
is
is the
admitted to
result
doing
of
these
a
things.
Supreme Court ruling that his charter
Correct.
rights were infringed upon.
So yes, he is a admitted and convicted terrorist. There is no questions about that. There is no arguments about that. That is fact. He is being awarded this because his charter of rights as a Canadian, in terms of sort of due process and extradition and things like that, were ignored first by the Liberal government and then continuing.
Well, two Liberal governments, two Liberal prime ministers.
Correct.
plus-
And it was under the Conservative government that they actually extradited him and repatriated him into Canada.
Okay.
Which
So-
took 3 attempts by the Conservative government in order to get the repatriation through.
Yeah. But this is like, to just take a step aside for a split second, this is something, it doesn't sit well with you, Andrew, does it?
No, this does not sit well with me.
Okay, Marty?
The fact that we went to the effort to get him out of Guantanamo in of itself is a problem for me. The Supreme Court of Canada ruling that someone trampled on his charter rights beyond that, and the shiniest of ponies deciding that in order to make amends for his charter rights being abused, to award him $10.5 million for a myriad of reasons that I want to get into momentarily. Sorry, carry on, Tim.
Okay, but Marty, this does not like sit well with you either.
No, I mean, I think even so, the original Supreme Court of Canada decision essentially says that repatriating him is the recompense for his charter of rights violation. So essentially, the payoff for his rights being violated is that Canada would repatriate him.
Okay. Gavin?
Even that, I disagree with.
Gavin? Do you agree with this?
Yes.
You think he should have been, that they violated his charter of rights and freedoms?
Well, no, like my personal opinion is that no, I don't think they did. But I guess that's what leaves this up for debate. Is
legally, there was a wrongdoing.
I mean,
Correct.
Sean, what do you think of this? Does this sit well with you
Okay.
that he was kind of punished, like, and that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is going to say, well, his freedoms were trampled, and therefore he gets $10.5 million, even though he's a terrorist being punished?
So I go, okay, I'm looking at it both ways, right? So if I were to be in his shoes, minus the hand grenade throwing, minus killing and blinding of the Americans, if I were in Guantanamo and got treated like him as a Canadian citizen, but that being said, I threw a hand grenade that killed servicemen of a country that I was allied, that my people were part of.
Yeah.
So I'm against the payout, but I don't understand where it's coming from. But I can see where the shiny pony gets his ideas and that what Goodale says. Let's see it, Gavin. Show it.
So,
Well,
so
I'm
like,
just- I'm trying to find
my whole, I just wanted to make the point. I just want to make the point. This is something that does not sit well. It is not logical. It doesn't make sense to tax hardworking Canadians who are law-abiding and present them to a terrorist. And it all comes back to something we've mentioned several times, and it's going to come around full circle. And this is because of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms brought in by Pierre Elliott Trudeau when we abandoned the English style law and brought in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This is Trudeau's mother's husband's doing.
Well, so I mean, this is where I have problems with this whole thing, right? Like they're saying that the reason for giving them a settlement is because he is a Canadian citizen and his charter rights were violated. But it happened in Guantanamo. But like it happened in Guantanamo, so it was Americans that did that. So why do Canadians have to pay? Like if he was having his rights violated,
there's four.
Why do we have to pay
with
that?
The payout? Because if we're going to talk about the payout, I want to talk about this because there's been in the last week there's been 4 separate issues with the payout. After it became leaked that the Liberal government was doing this, because this is not information that was actually publicized on purpose.
Yeah, no transparency. Yep.
The complete lack of transparency.
Also,
first,
before you make the comment that the Liberal government is doing this, it is done. He received the payment on July 3rd.
Correct.
Yeah. Further anger me. So in the past week or so since this came to light and the information was leaked, the Liberal government had elected to award Qadar $10.5 million. The first thing that came out in a press release from Goodall's office was that the Supreme Court of Canada demanded that the Canadian people pay Qadar $10.5 million. There is no such requirement in the original Supreme Court. It's not even a ruling. It was a recommendation by the Supreme Court of Canada under the under the Martin government to repatriate this individual from Guantanamo Bay after being held there for the period of something on the order of 10 years. The second release that they made was that this was entirely the Harper government's fault. Never mind the fact that he was captured and held under Chrétien and then Martin governments, which were Liberal majority governments.
Yeah.
At the same time, while he was held in Guantanamo Bay, which is an American detention facility, he made statements to RCMP and Canadian CSIS.
Canadian Security Intelligence Service.
Yes, those guys.
Yeah.
So they interviewed him, and Qadar admitted to what he had done in combat in Afghanistan. And this was what the Supreme Court based his charter rights being breached on, was that the grounds that he talked to the RCMP CSIS officers regarding his actions in a combat zone.
Well, and
then the Harper government had to spend 3 sets of effort getting him repatriated because the first 2 times it got rejected. So I feel the Harper government has done more than what the Supreme Court of Canada demanded in order to make amends for the violation of his charter rights.
Well, but that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, you know, like did we as Canadians violate his rights?
No.
Like,
right, we're being punished.
You know, like did a Canadian torture him, or did we just ask him some questions?
No. Did Canadians take him to Afghanistan? No, his father did.
And that's what I'm
Canadians
getting at.
put the grenade in his hand?
Well, that aside, like it's already established he's a terrorist, convicted terrorist. Fine, that's a done deal. I don't think we need to debate that, right?
Yeah, but the problem is we have a government right now who believes not only should terrorists,
But I could
he believes we shouldn't even lose your citizenship.
I want to get through the last 2 things because this goes to where you're saying. So the third statement from the Prime Minister's office was that the $10.5 million is actually a cost-saving measure because it could have cost $40 million to fight this in court, which in my opinion, we absolutely should have fought in court because the Shiny Ponies government will fight everything else in court. We fought veterans, we fought Indigenous people. The government will spend so much money on court cases that they know they're going to lose, and they're saying that giving this guy $10.5 million, well, that saves us paying him the $40 million that would have resulted in the loss of this court case.
Yep.
This is absolutely this is the same government that turned a multi-billion-dollar surplus into a multi-billion-dollar deficit.
Yeah, this is the most laughable thing is the Liberals saying that they're trying to save taxpayers' money.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
something I want the listeners. You add that to that pot that's always going on your back burner. I want to add another ingredient to that. Why are we always going out of our way to treat like these people differently, to treat them better?
All right. The last thing came from Calgary Stampede this weekend. Trudeau's gave a speech in which he finally made a moral argument instead of a failed fiscal argument or blaming someone else for it. Trudeau is committed to all future governments of Canada to provide monetary remedies regardless of the requirements of Canadian court. This is Trudeau's unilateral decision regarding that the Supreme Court of Canada, despite what the Supreme Court of Canada may say about something, the government of Canada is now obligated to pay monetary remedies in the event that any citizen's charter right is breached. This is the Canada we live in now.
So, okay. First off, to me, it's disgusting the fact that somebody can say that they are entitled to the rights of a country that they've taken up arms against.
Yep. Oh, this man should have been stripped of his citizenship immediately. There is no reason to have
not only should he been
stripped,
not only should he have been stripped of his citizenship, he should have been lined up against the wall and shot. That is
that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, I mean, if we didn't actually do anything that violated his charter rights to him as Canada or Canadians or as a country, a government, whatever you want to look at, be it the RCMP, CSIS, the military, or whoever, if we didn't lay a hand on him outside of that, then why are we paying that? No, but like, it is though, because
that's not the issue. As part of your rights, you have like the right to expedient trial. You have like, but it's not the fact that we, whether we tortured him or not, it's the fact that he wasn't immediately
okay, so if
back into Canada where he could face a trial.
Yeah, but if I commit a crime in another country, I'm subject to their laws as well as the laws of my own country. Like, for example, if I travel to, the eastern part of
country
the world
is not
allowed in child tourism, which is legal there, but illegal here.
Let's say
another country is not allowed to hold you for 15 years without charging you or charging you.
Okay, but again, that's not something that we did. That's something
we're not in control
they did.
We're not in control of that.
That's something they did.
Let's say some dipshit went to North Korea and stole a propaganda poster, and then was sentenced to hard labor, and then came back in a coma, and then died. Like, that's unimaginable. But like, what the hell did the U.S. government have to do with that? Like, they just couldn't. What, are they supposed to go to war with someone who tried to steal a poster?
Or,
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. We didn't do anything to this person as a nation.
No, his father did. His father took him to a war-torn country and put him in with Al-Qaeda people.
So, if anyone violated his rights, it's the people that forcibly detained him there in a way that shouldn't have happened. So it's not us; it's the U.S.
No, you're close, but you're wrong. You're close, but you're wrong. And if you abandon the whole Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which in my opinion should never have been enacted in Canada,
well, and it's
because if we go back to English law, he should be charged with treason for attacking an ally of our country.
Well, and that was going to be my next point was that.
Sorry, Gavin.
Okay, and then it was a good segue. But that's my next point is like there's different ways to fight this, and the first one is we didn't actually do anything against him. The second is he left our country, or at least left with his parents that at the time were his legal guardian, and made these decisions to leave, and then he committed act war against us or an ally, which is treason. So his chartered rights should be revoked because of that, which means they don't apply again.
So I mean, in terms of morally, yes. In terms of legally, no. In terms of the way the Charter of Rights is, that they don't get revoked, and the Charter of Rights do offer him some protections in internationally that were not accorded to him. So yes, legally there is an argument. This guy is a shitbag.
In a third world country, and they detain me in a shitty prison because that's all they have for an extended period of time. Yes. Am I going to get a payout?
No, you should have, like, the Canadian government should intervene on your behalf and have you what's the word? But sent back to Canada.
Repatriate.
So this still comes back to the failure of two liberal governments to properly repatriate a Canadian citizen from the Americans, and the determination of the Conservatives to make 3 attempts to repatriate this bag of shit, only so that the next liberal government could give him $10 million because his feelings got hurt.
Yeah. So, I mean, now, okay, we've talked about, you know, the legal aspect of it. So yes, technically there is some legal wrongdoing there. That being said, I expect a leader of our government, I expect the leader of this country to fight tooth and nail not to give shitbags like this Canadian taxpayer dollars. If it means you spend 3 times as much to fight it in the courts, you fight it in the courts. And if he wins, you appeal it in any way possible. If you can't appeal it, you're the fucking government. Change the law.
Change the goddamn law, like your father did.
Exactly.
Put something in place, backdate it, and then so that this guy gets nothing. You can even call it the Omar Kadir law and put it so that only this guy it applies to. But I want a leader that's going to fight to prevent this kind of shit from happening.
Yeah, but you're looking at if you look at federal government reaches settlement with 3 Canadian men tortured in Syria and Egypt, like we've already done this in May. There was 3 Canadian citizens who were like tortured in Syria and Egypt, and basically they were being tortured by like foreign torturers. And CSIS and the RCMP basically said, "Oh, while you have them there, ask them this question." That's it. And these 3 people each filed a $100 million lawsuit against the government, and it's been settled out of court, and it's all there's no transparency. We have no idea. It's done. It's all done, but we have no idea what they settled for. We have no idea what sort of settlement they received. You know,
but this is my thing.
We don't know the charges.
Even if there's a legal precedent in this, like where okay, fine. We still didn't do anything. We obviously tried to get this dirtbag back home multiple times. If the U.S. is just like, nah, sorry, we're not done with him yet. What are we gonna do? Go to war with the U.S. to get some shitbag back home? Like, how far do we have to go to prove that we're doing everything we need to? Yeah. So, if anything, it's the people that held him illegally or against his rights that should be paying for it, not hardworking Canadian taxpayers footing the bill for this. Like, if you commit,
if you attack a force like that is an ally to your nation, you are a treason. You're a treasonous scum. You forfeit all rights. You know, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is a weak, shitty charter. I'm going to say it. It's a weak.
Believes that terrorists should get to keep their Canadian citizenship.
This is a man and a government voted in by a people who, on the whole, believe that being weak and shitty and signaling socially is the way of the future, and it's wrong.
Ridiculous. I mean,
social signaling is the next thing. So, closing comments all the way around, and then we're moving on.
I hope his mansion falls on his head.
All right. Fair. So if this whole thing is about getting like justice for Canadian citizens or whatever, right? And money is no object. What happens or why didn't the 6 people that were killed in Burkina Faso in January 16th, their families get some sort of payout? Because nobody bothered to do anything about that. Or the gentleman that was killed in the London Bridge incident on June 3rd, because he was a Canadian citizen, or Robert Hall and John Ritzel that were kidnapped and held for 14 months and then murdered, on the internet. Yeah. And just as a side note for that, two other non-Canadians were released for $1.1 million Canadian, roughly. And then Joshua Boyle, who's still being held along with his American wife and 2 kids. Nobody's doing a shit about those Canadian citizens, but somehow we're giving this Canadian citizen $10.5 million for doing something shitty.
Yeah, let me add one more thing onto that. When we went through the defense budget a few weeks back, if you guys recall, the maximum amount of money that can go to a soldier injured or killed in service was $360,000.
Yeah, I mean, if the whole thing is about getting justice for Canadian citizens, you know,
so
why is there no justice for these people? You know, like,
well, what pisses me off is that the life of a soldier, the life of a soldier who signs up to and volunteers his life to protect us and to battle on behalf of this country is worth $360,000. This guy being inconvenienced for 13 years is worth $10.5 million.
Yeah. Well, on behalf of my Afghanistan war veteran friend, who isn't here, he's alive, and I shoot with him regularly. He's a good guy. But I was talking to him about this 2 weeks ago tomorrow, 13 days ago, and he said, we were talking about it, and I said it's absurd, and he knows very well. He said, yeah, $360,000 is a payout to a dead soldier, and this guy gets $10.5 million. And I said, yeah, it's insane. He said, it is. It's fucking insanity. He said, I lost a lot of friends with the Canadian flag tattooed on their arm, and this is bullshit because of shitbags like that guy. This guy was a forward artillery observer, and he would sweep villagers and shit like that. Like, he'd seen guys pulled into huts, you know, like and on patrol and shit like that, and like, he just I highly recommend that everybody go and read on what happened that day with these American forces, especially when it talks about the villagers. You know, when this firefight happened, and there was like 500 villagers that came like circled around to watch, and then villagers themselves removed and buried all of went through the whatever burial procedures of all of the bodies of the terrorists, and refused to tell the soldiers what had happened to the bodies and things like that. You know, these 500 villagers sided with the terrorists. And I'll tell you now, these are the moderates that we are. Well, you know, these are not the terrorists. These are the moderates. These are just the random villagers that we are, you know, bringing in as refugees into North America, into Europe. They when you're over there, terrorists. Yeah, I agree with Marty. You guys do your own research. It is out there. This wasn't the goddamn Lord of the Flies. This is stuff that's reconned and overwatched by drones and surveillance video, like aircraft and shit like that. This is all documented. Like, what the U.S. Army says is just, it's not bullshit. They're not just a bunch of guys that just go riding off on their horses and come back a day later and tell you what happened. Like, this is all documented.
So my piece on the deal is that there were 500 plus Canadians that went back to Germany when I can't remember the name of when Nazi Germany called back the purebloods to come back.
Yeah, when they called them back to the motherland or fatherland or whatever.
There are 560, I want to say. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but Canadians who went back, and the majority of them died. But those who survived, a lot of them were tried and hung because a lot of them were part of the SS and that at the camps, and yeah, that was before the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and all this, but that's no different. That's no different in my opinion, you know. And this kid has gotten off with a huge payday and for throwing a grenade and following his dad in. And yes, he was, you know, when I was his age, I wasn't very mature and all that, so I would have followed my dad into death too. But regardless,
would you have chucked a grenade at people at 15?
That depends. Can you describe these people to me? I might have.
Yeah, I know there's 6 of one, half a dozen of another here.
To be fair, if they're foreign invaders, yes.
Yeah, and so for him to do what he did, he thought he was doing what was right in the eyes of his father, but at the same time, fuck that guy. Fuck what he did. It's time we take a stand. And 2 liberal governments and 1 conservative government did not pay this guy for a reason, and for Ralph Goodale and Justin Trudeau to stand up and defend this guy. It's absolutely brutal, and I can't stand for it. I
just want to say this Kadar was when he was captured and taken down, and that he was shot twice through the torso with an M4 carbine, at least from what I heard on the Wikipedia. He was 2 years younger than my Afghan war vet friend when he signed up. When he went down there and he, with his mother's signature, joined the Canadian Forces to go fight those people. He was just 2 years difference, really.
Yeah. So playing devil's advocate, when I was 16, 17, I was too busy trying to chase pussy and play football than going over and throwing grenades because my dad said so. Right, but at the same time, there was the decision he made to go with his dad, and that's it. He made the choice. There's kids nowadays, especially in Regina here, that shoot people that are 14, 15, and they get tried as adults, and it's no different. It's no different.
Yeah, because they're old enough to know better.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So my thing. First off, I think this guy absolutely should not have any rights as a Canadian citizen. I think if you're a convicted and admitted terrorist committing these types of acts and you have traveled to one of these countries to fight against your country, you do not deserve and you're not entitled to the rights of that country.
Yep.
Now,
this is someone who we should violently disenfranchise.
Yeah. I'm disgusted that our leader doesn't have the strength to put up a fight over something like this and just completely cucks under like this. It's absolutely disgusting from a leader of a country to be this, just no goddamn balls. I mean, just no morals, no strength. I mean, just complete bullshit that this guy is a leader of a country.
And what saddens me out of all this is that Ralph Goodale stood up and chastised the person who leaked this info to us, and in his press conference, and he's from 6 blocks to the north of me, and that's his riding, and that's unexcusable. Transparency should be the #1 issue in your government. That's what you campaigned on.
Especially when that's what they campaigned on.
Yeah. Well, he might be. Yeah. He might be a good local boy, but he's lost in the swamp, man.
He is not even a good local boy. He's sniffing the butthole of Trudeau right to the end, and it's he's so far up his ass. It's unreal.
I do have one final question on this, and this is something that I've struggled with on this whole thing, and that is, why? Like, why would he make this payment? He's not forced to by, there's nothing from the Supreme Court saying he should pay this.
Marty,
it's very even within the Liberals, it's very negative. No, even the Liberals.
You gotta toe the party line.
Even the Liberals, like the Liberal voters, are against this payout. Like, there's nothing positive. Like, I don't understand. I really don't understand politically why you make this payout.
Probably
because
he didn't bother getting any public opinion on it first. This is going to look good and get me my shiny trophy at the UN because it looks like I'm standing up for Canadians and their rights against the big bad US and the world and everything else. And then he just went and did it.
But they tried to keep it quiet.
But now he's at the point
secretive
where
part is
can't turn back.
Well, that's the whole doubling down 4 times thing that I have already covered.
Yeah,
but Marty raises a good point. You don't spend this kind of political capital and not publicize it. There's nothing to require them to have done this, and the fact that they tried to do it all under the cover of night,
radar.
Yeah, exactly. Without publicizing it, that's lost political capital. I'd be inclined to agree with you that they were doing this for good boy points from the UN, but that's not what they were doing because they didn't publicize it enough for the UN to notice.
And especially when
once they got too far down the road and kind of had to probably go through with it, that this was going to cause some problems, so then decided to keep it hush-hush rather than...
I mean, the only thing I could think is that this is a backdoor
okay.
deal. Only thing I could think is a backdoor deal where, like, someone's getting a payoff if he pays this guy off. There's somewhere, like, I'm certain if you follow the money, somewhere there's, like,
100%.
I mean, it's going to be a George Soros, or there's going to be something like that, where like there's going to be a payoff somewhere else, where there's money coming back in.
I can guarantee
it has to be, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense politically. It doesn't make sense morally. Like, there's just nothing here that makes any sense.
Yeah,
here's the only possible white pilling thing that might come out of this is if this knocks a few percentage points away from Trudeau in 2019, then that'll
not at all.
I hope it does, but like if you look at it,
but
the majority of liberals are against this payout. If that's
but will they show it in votes?
Not if Facebook has shown anything to me, because man, I have a lot of friends that are all for standing up for our chartered rights, even though this shitbag doesn't deserve them.
No, you got to remember, guys, like the liberal voter is an uninformed voter, and they see
touchy-feely moron.
Okay, so
they're going to see he's going to come out and say, he says it's Harper's fault. That's all they need to hear.
He's already
They don't need to see any evidence. They don't need to see right. But they don't need to see any evidence. They don't need an explanation why. They just go, that makes sense. That guy was Hitler. It definitely was his fault.
And he has magic power to go to elbow someone in the tip just by being in the room.
Now that you mentioned it, he was Hitler.
I got one final point to make, guys. Sorry. John Gormley, friend of the show, who does morning show in Regina here, 980 CKRM Regina, publicized an Angus Reid poll where 73% of pollers were against this, and over 60% of them identified as Liberal voters. So I don't think that's true, because Angus Reid has some, albeit it's a poll, but they've got some clout in Canada. But that being said, it's wrong, and the majority of Canadians are against it.
So, Sean, I agree with you in that I think most Liberal voters are against this payout, but I disagree that they see this as Trudeau's fault.
No,
and I don't think that they see this as something that will sway votes. I think that they see this as yes, I disagree that he's getting this money, but it's not the Liberals' fault. It's the fault of Harper. That's what you're going to see. Or it's going to be the fault of something else. Or his hands were tied.
Yeah.
Whatever one of the four excuses he's given, just take one of those and run with it and be good enough.
Yeah, Harper
they're uninformed voters.
To Guantanamo and poked him with sticks and tortured him and waterboarded him. So that's why we're paying the money out.
We didn't waterboard.
I would vote for him twice if he did that.
Yeah.
But
anyway, regardless, we can't do anything about it. The court injunction to freeze Cotter's assets was shut down. So, in the grand scheme of things, guys, we're fucked. Right?
Dear Ken,
there is a
So
there is
Patreon, people, we could use your help to get us a helicopter.
At about 6
Actually,
feet
I was going to say that there is a fund being raised for the Spear, the wife of the soldier who lost his life from this asshole.
Danielle Spear.
So if you do want to donate some money, that's a good place to send it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the next one. We have a couple of news things to go through quick. So much for that hour goal that we were going with tonight. The former flag king, the Red Ensign, is apparently now a dark symbol of the far right.
Dun dun dun.
Proud Boys.
This comes from the National Post and Graham Hamilton.
That is a
Motherfucker echoes.
epic echo.
Yeah. Okay, so I assume you guys watched the video. Do you guys watch the video?
Okay,
of
so
the Proud Boys
I
video.
watched the
or whatever?
video, and can I start with I don't like Gavin McInnes's Proud Boys and their nonsense to begin. Like, sit down and shut up. You're interrupting the adults.
Yeah.
Andrew, what is wrong with what the Halifax Five did, though? What's wrong with what they did?
Nothing is wrong with what they've done. My concern
Also,
over this is the optics is that they are not well-spoken individuals and they do not do well in public.
They're a bunch of meatheads. What do you expect?
Yes.
Right. Well, and that's, again, sit down, adults are talking.
Yeah.
All right. I've watched the video. My favorite part of the video is all of the, I guess, the leftists of the argument complaining that they are flying the British flag. Why are you flying the British flag? Canada hasn't been a British colony in 150 years. Like
they ignorant.
None of them.
They ignorant.
None of
they have
them
no idea.
recognized. Yeah. They first off, they don't know. Clearly, they don't know what the British flag looks like.
Yeah.
And and then they didn't recognize our national flag.
It's a symbol of colonialism. You guys are right wing. Fuck
that, and technically we still are under British rule. Just saying.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, you go to government buildings and stuff like that, and guess whose picture is still up on the wall? The Queen.
An astronaut now. Well, and now there's an astronaut, but that's for next week's show.
And a picture of a horse, but he's also the prime minister.
He's very shiny, though. Fabulous hair.
You know,
Sorry,
I mean,
meant a horse.
when you watch this video of the five or whatever, they're standing there. They are being respectful. They're not being aggressive. I would say they're getting a lot of aggression in return. Like that one chick is just continuously steps up into their face. I mean,
the autistic screeching from that one leftist.
Yeah. So anyway, so going on this article though.
By the. Sorry, I was also going to say, since we're talking about the Hamilton, or not the Hamilton, the Halifax Five, I also want to say that I am deeply, deeply ashamed of the chain of command in the Royal Canadian Navy, and the fact that they felt the need to apologize for the behavior of these individuals. Well, it did have poor optics. They were not representing the Navy at that time, nor did they do anything that I feel violates the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Yes, they're assholes, but also they have a right to be assholes in their free time.
Yeah,
Andrew, all five of our Hamilton listeners are reaching to the sky in pain because you compared them to Halifax listeners.
Well, butthole of Ontario, butthole of the East Coast, it's basically the same thing.
Difference,
It's the same thing. Yeah. They're shipyards,
so,
right? Or they're all steel yards. Anyway, go on.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the thing with the flag.
Okay, if there's an this is on Canada Day, there was a protest being held. And the protest was essentially saying that, Canada is not a good thing because of, past injustices have been done. So this was an anti-Canada protest. Now, you have forces members who have signed up, put their lives on the line to defend this country as we know it.
Well, shit, you could call them patriots.
Would you not expect them to be, first off, to be offended by a protesting the formation of this country, and at the very least, walk over there and see what the hell is going on? These people did exactly what I would expect members of our armed forces to do, and what I would hope pretty well any Canadian would do.
Ask questions.
Well, and here's the thing. So if somebody's having a protest and it's peaceful, and somebody wants to have a counter-protest and it's peaceful, that's well within our chartered rights to do so. And I may not agree with what people protest about, but if you want to do it, as long as it's peaceful and doesn't break any laws or anything like that, go ahead. You have a right to do that, and I fully support that. And, you know, to say that, like, the native population didn't get a shitty deal would be lying. You know, like, historically, we've treated them like shit. So they have a grievance that they are more than justified in airing, you know? But that doesn't mean that the other guys didn't have, you know, a point to make as well. And they felt that this was a good platform to do that. And as long as it was done peacefully, that's all that matters.
Also, I found this National Post article. They called them, I think they called them, I don't know if they called them white supremacists, but they called them like 4 white guys or something like that. 2 of the 4 were natives.
Okay. That's kind of quiet.
National Post.
Oh, Napo.
All right, let's get back onto the flag thing, because clearly the leftists, at least from this event, didn't understand what this flag was or the history of the country in which they live. But don't worry, colonialism or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but that just reinforces its colonialism. I mean, that's the flag that we used to enact colonialism on these people. Or, you know, win world wars and do a bunch of other stuff. But whatever.
You mean provide a good quality of life?
Yeah.
But
a good standard of living?
That's economic freedom. Else. Yeah, that's secondary to everything else.
Yeah, but can you shove it up your ass?
To be fair, Tim, I'm pretty sure if you roll any flag tight enough and apply the right amount of pressure and lubricant, you can do that.
Already though, it sounds like too much work for a liberal.
I don't know.
I have to get it pre-rolled from Amazon.
Pre-rolled, yeah. As long as it can, you can afford it on welfare.
I don't know. I don't think that they're necessarily opposed to work, because I certainly saw my neighbors cutting the lawn with scissors.
I heard that.
I just think they're opposed to, like, actual work, like stuff that is pointless. They're more than happy to do and spend time and effort doing.
So your neighbor was avoiding real work by cutting their lawn with scissors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're not talking about the flag anymore. Let's go on to the next thing. Trudeau visits the Calgary Stampede.
He sure did.
Trudeau also recently said he wasn't planning to attend this Calgary Stampede.
Sure.
And showed up anyway.
They said we weren't talking about the flag anymore.
Then he found the right socks and off he went.
Yeah.
Well, you have to get socks that match your goofy hat.
Yeah.
And buckle. I mean, it's important to have a big buckle if you go out to the Stampede.
You're not goofy.
No.
Just his. White hats are weird.
He shouldn't wear a big buckle. He's not a big buckle guy.
Okay. Here's the better question. Who the fuck smiles with their mouth open?
That guy.
Why does he do that now and continuously?
The leader of our country.
Mouth breathers. Mouth breathers.
I just say mouth breathers, yeah.
Well, you see, the problem is if he closes his mouth, he'll get vapor lock.
Okay, here, just a second.
He didn't do this even in an election. He didn't do this. This is a relatively new thing. Now he just and it's not even like a quick thing. Like when you see him like entering the pancake thing, he's like mouth open, smiling for like 2-3 minutes straight as like doing things.
I'm gonna Google this. Did Castro breathe through his mouth?
Was Castro a mouth breather?
Later in life.
I thought the reaction of the average Calgary Stampede goer was pretty good. That they really didn't like that the bum was in attendance. That's pretty good.
I wouldn't say that was. They were very selective about where he went in the Calgary Stampede. They went to strictly like upper class liberal neighborhoods type of things, like higher income liberal, like places that were like the rare areas within Alberta that voted liberal. They really tried to like keep him to strictly liberal areas so that there was no bad optics kind of thing.
Yeah, that's okay.
Even
still got up on the roof with a giant sign to make fun of him, so that was good.
The neighbor, yeah, there were still a few things. And this is one thing I was thinking of. I'm like, I'm curious about this. Like, do you think that this was the Liberal Party like trying to
Show
like
that they
minimize
still remember Alberta.
Well, okay, we'll talk about that. But I mean, the fact that they only take him to liberal positive areas. Like, is that just trying to show Canada that he's liked anywhere, or do you think that like Trudeau himself doesn't realize that he's not liked everywhere? Like,
you think this is like the Truman
almost
Show,
wonder-
and he doesn't believe what's really going on? Like, he doesn't understand.
I really do. I really think that like even he doesn't realize, like, because he's only ever in they only like parade him out in places where he's going to get a big cheer,
Like Pride.
Yeah, I wonder if he himself
Or
has
a
no
mosque.
clue because he's right. Because he's that clueless. I mean, like, I truly think he has no idea.
It's entirely possible that his handlers just have him wound up that he goes to the places where people will clap and say nice things about his socks. It's a very valid point because honestly, I'm convinced the reason that he keeps his mouth open like that is so that he doesn't get vapor lock.
Yeah. I mean, he probably just goes, and tours like the greatest sock factories and shops of wherever city he's in, and wherever they sell that like mane and tail shampoo, and that's about it, right?
Did you not listen to the interview? He just uses whatever his wife buys him.
Yeah, he does not go. He does not go near a place that sells mane and tail shampoo. I'll say that right now.
But he uses it because he is the shiniest of ponies. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about how he ended up in the Stampede at all.
Well, he didn't.
So this was something.
That's
So he
disappointing.
was going to be one of the first leaders of a party in Canada in recent memory that was not going to attend the Stampede.
Well, he has forgotten about Alberta more than once, so it's not really a shock that he wouldn't want to go to Stampede. I mean,
and that what changed it. So he had
photo ops. They got maybe Justin Trudeau to show up to Stampede, so the shiny pony could have a picture with his sleeping namesake.
So Trudeau had announced that he was not going to attend the Stampede, and really was sort of the first leader of any party. Even the opposition leaders, everybody goes to the Stampede. It's just what you do as a political leader in Canada. You have to be there for that. But Trudeau was not going to. They said that his schedule didn't allow it. He was returning from an international trip, and so he was planning to not attend. Then Canada Day happened, where he forgot Alberta. And so, as a way of trying to recover from that gaffe, I guess, they released his schedule saying that, well, it turns out he had 3 personal days during the Stampede, and so he could go instead. And that's how he ended up there at all, because he was not supposed to be attending at the Stampede.
Yeah, no, this was entirely done more for photo ops and sound bites. I'm convinced. There's no.
Yeah.
I guess it's also worth mentioning that the NDP is not in attendance at Stampede this year because they're having their leadership convention.
Usual circumstance, though. There is no leader.
No, right. But the NDP opposition leadership is not in attendance because there is currently none. They're busy having a meeting to figure out who's in charge.
Right. But conservative, like Scheer was there for a few days. And
well, naturally, all of the conservatives are there at Stampede.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's a Hitler convention.
No, they have the wrong flags for that. Marty, do you want to tell everybody about the last one today? This is for the Clinton Foundation.
All right. So again, this is all right. Let's talk about transparency. This is just a random. I think it was Tuesday. This paper went out from the Liberal government of essentially another $240 million of funding that was going out towards women's reproductive health, I think is the title. And this is in addition to the this is in addition to the $650 million that was designated to that exact same thing about 3 or 4 months ago. So now we're pretty close to $1 billion of money that's being spent, and this is none of this is domestically. This is international health funding.
Okay, so like you're saying, like
if you look at the list,
women in Canada who are having trouble conceiving are just going to have to pay taxes just so they can be sent abroad.
No, this isn't for people who are having trouble conceiving. This is the Global Affairs Division of the Canadian government giving out nearly $1 billion in this fiscal year for feminist international policy. What does that equate to? It means birth control. They're giving Africans condoms.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
abortions. And abortions.
By doing this,
right.
though, that makes $10.5 million a drop in the bucket. So
what?
That doesn't mean we should be giving the Clinton Foundation $240 million.
I'm just saying.
Like, don't the liberals like Africans?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well played, Tim.
So $20 million of this $240 million is going to the Clinton Foundation, which is essentially defunct at this point, yet somehow we're still funding them.
Wasn't it
and
proven
that's
that they're
just one.
sending money
The Clinton
to
Foundation
Qatar
is the
or
one
everywhere
that's
else? Like,
yeah, the Clinton Foundation is the one that's the most well known as being a useless organization that just steals money and never actually delivers it to the area that they claim to be helping. I mean, just look at what they've done in Haiti, for example. But if you look at the list of all of these NGOs that we are giving $240 million of taxpayer money to, it's all, I mean, it's just all globalist bullshit. I started going through it going like, all right, how many of these are tied to Soros? I made it the first couple. They're both tied to him. Right. I didn't keep going. I'm like, I'm sure half of these are tied to this bullshit.
I think, yeah.
And all this is, it's just
you mentioned Trudeau's belt buckle at the Calgary Stampede. That's actually a watch. So when Soros goes to check his time, he can just rotate it, and there's Trudeau on his wrist.
It's just incredible. I mean, it's just $250 million. I mean, even if you look in North America, for example, like if you look at like what's the word? Not abortion rates, but let's say like teen pregnancy rates. Teen pregnancy rates, 30 years ago compared to today. Despite all of the push on birth control and all that kind of stuff and sexual education, it's not done anything. It seems to have had the opposite effect. And so let's take this failed liberal policy and let's spread it around.
Yeah, but that's, if you look at it and you really educate yourself, there's the failed liberal policies like this on welfare. The welfare doesn't really help people in the long run, and all sorts of things. So it's not to people who really look at stuff and look at the facts instead of just listening to what the government propaganda machines like the CBC say. This is not a surprise. When the government is sitting there and they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on birth control programs and stuff like that, but yet they're dropping down the sex education in the high school. Like it's just, the more the government gets involved in stuff like that, especially liberal governments, they just create dependency on a system.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And I'm not saying that it's the old way was the best way, but in terms of like when you look at the stats, it's by promoting all the safe sex and birth control and all stuff like that, what they have essentially done is they have promoted promiscuity, and they've very much normalized premarital and underage sex and things like that. And by doing that, they've actually had the opposite effect of what they were trying to accomplish. In that, these sort of STD rates and birth rates and things like that have increased over time instead of decreased what they were trying to do.
So
and
maybe that's
one more example of
maybe that's their latest ploy when they're dropping down to age 13 to start educating people on anal sex. Maybe that's their next thrust at getting the birth rates down. Well played, government.
Yeah. Thrust was a good word there too.
Thanks. I'm surfing porn.
Something about greatness and it being thrust upon them.
Yes. Or their wives.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole thing is ridiculous. Our government shouldn't be spending money on things that don't benefit our citizens. If giving money to another country in some way benefits our country, it doesn't need to be immediate, but a return on the investment, I have no problem with that.
Okay, yeah,
so here's the thing. As a first world nation, I will go as far as say that we have a moral obligation to help out some of the the citizenry in the third world nations, where appropriate. That being said,
I agree.
A deficit.
Yeah.
It does not make sense for us to be borrowing money to then give to the Clintons. And I don't mean the Clinton Foundation. I don't mean the people. It is well documented that the money given to the Clinton Foundation ends up in the Clintons' pockets, not in those that need it. So we are taking money, we are borrowing money, of which all taxpayers must pay that debt on. We are borrowing that money, and we are putting it in the pockets of the Clintons themselves.
Anyone interested in learning about this? Any listener? Yeah, listen.
Bathroom internet servers,
Yeah. Anyone interested in learning about what Marty said? I urge you to go to YouTube and you watch the videos called Clinton Cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows the history of the Clinton Foundation, and you can sit there and it'll give you 10 examples of how they took massive efforts from international efforts trying to fund people and help people with through donations and stuff like that, and how they just take that money and do fuck all with it. And this is all stuff. This is all stuff you can then further up. You can research it yourself and prove that it's true. So I
think Haiti is the most egregious of what they've done. When you think about what happened with the mudslides there, and all of the money that was raised. If you remember the George Bush, don't send water or blankets, just send your cash. All of that went to the Clinton Foundation, of which I think it's less than 10% has actually made its way into Haiti now. Yeah. After 10 years later, less than 10% has made it to Haiti.
Yeah. So for you people who can't be bothered to pay attention and to follow up and research that stuff, there was, if you think of all the money, and I think it was huge. I think it was, and do not quote me on this, but I think it was around $16 billion internationally was raised and directed to Haiti for relief after that earthquake. And it's just what happened was there was a company in Ireland who makes these portable devices that got this huge freaking sweet contract. And what Haitians have, other than drinking water and employment and good nutrition and food and healthcare and shit like that, what they have is they have digital currency. We don't even have that in Canada. We don't have that in America. We do have it to agree with the debit cards and credit cards and stuff like that. But these people carry around a device like a cell phone, and they have their digital currency on them with it all the time. It's just absurd. These people, they need a much more realistic.
They're still living in tent cities.
Yes, they are.
I mean, it's years and years later, and they're still living like tarps and sticks, like as their residences.
The famous quote from the Clinton Cash YouTube video was the guy said, "For the amount of money sent to Haiti, absolutely everyone should have a house." But it was not about that. It was about corruption. It was about greed. And it was about the Clinton Foundation. And here we are. Like, this is 2 years ago. I knew this shit, you know. And here we are. And to just suddenly hear that our government is giving $241 million to this organization that was proven.
Sorry. 20 million is to the Clinton. 240 to NGOs worldwide.
Okay. Yeah, but that's not entirely your fault. Like, I was reading headlines, and we were giving $241 million to the Clinton Foundation. So I don't know. I can't recall where those headlines were, but like, this is
fake news.
Yeah. So it's $240 million that are going towards women's reproductive health worldwide, and that's being spread amongst various NGOs in the UN. 20 million of it is going to the Clinton Foundation. So it's not just the Clinton Foundation. These are all, I mean, pretty well.
Yeah, and
NGOs are just like,
yeah. To look at that as to resign and look at that realistically, if I didn't have internet and I didn't have a house, but I had a wife, yeah, maybe I need birth control.
Like, you're a little past that.
Yeah, if I don't have TV or internet or a house, yeah, maybe I don't need kids.
All right, let's go into rapid fire feedback. I've put off an email we got from Byron for weeks, and I want to get through it. He sent us a National Post article from the end of June, so sorry that it's taken a while to get to that. Trudeau's petulant, tone-deaf performance, a remarkable milestone. And I don't honestly remember what this is in reference to. I think it might have been leading up to Canada Day.
No, this was his, it might have been Canada Day, but this was his whole speech where like he blamed everything on the previous Conservative government. So that...
You're right. This was the one that closed
this was
like
like
summer break.
Yes. Like, you know, we had to bail on electoral reform because of the Conservatives, and
so
we have $30 billion deficit because of the Conservatives, and it was just blamed everything on everybody else.
Yeah, he was able to conjure up some magic liberal soap and scrub off those stains of those things, even though he had the fact that he had a majority government for a year and a half, and he was still not able to get the things he was promising through. Passed. Yeah. We have no electoral reform. We have no transparency. The Liberals at this point, it's not in this National Post article, but it's somewhere I'll
read, right, guys? Am I right? Bushels of weed?
We need your help.
There's no bushels of weed.
Go to www.patreon.com/CPP.
The Liberals have taken down their own transparency platform from the election. It's no longer published. They have redacted it. Transparency. They redacted the transparency platform that they ran on. We've gone from having a surplus to having a modest deficit to having a $30 billion deficit.
And here's the real crime here is the fact that the people that voted for that government aren't going to get slapped in the face with that conundrum that they've created. Anyway, onward.
People that voted for him watched this presentation and went, "Oh, that makes so much sense." Conservatives' fault.
It's clearly the Conservatives' fault. Better vote for more liberalism in the future.
More liberals. That's all we need. We just need more liberals next time. Yeah.
We need your help. Go to www.woodchipper.ca. Buy your wood chipper.
Buy me a wood chipper.
Yes. Well played, sir. Well played.
Yeah.
But Byron, sorry that it took us a while to get to this and that we're, wound up about a bunch of stuff tonight. This is stupid.
Full of beans.
I have nothing good to say about this. This is the Liberals and their leader blame shifting because poor optics and failure to follow through on their promises, and they're doing everything they can to scapegoat anyone, literally anyone that they can throw under the bus.
Even Hitler.
It is incredible that they can't take accountability for anything.
Oh no.
Yeah, but you got to couple that with a voting electorate that doesn't assign them blame for anything.
No, they don't, because they don't pay attention.
www.woodchopper.ca
or assignblame.ca, and maybe we can actually assign some
people
that actually deserve it.
I mean, I've talked to people that have voted liberals, and even today when you talk to them, they're like, yeah, it doesn't seem right, but I don't know, Harper, he just had that weird look about him, and I just never trusted it. And it was oh yeah, that's what you vote based on. That's super helpful. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, let's get that economist out of there. We don't want him in charge.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes too much sense.
Yeah.
In a hoodie going to hockey games, as opposed to the guy that's charging was $1,500 per ticket to have a dinner with him.
Yay.
So Byron, yes. Okay, Byron, yes, your feedback is on point. That Trudeau speech was incredible. I mean, it was just something that
touched me inappropriately.
Yeah, it's absolute, and the fact that it's not still a news article today, the fact that it got no airplay on the mainstream media, I mean, it's disappointing. This was so, I mean, tone deaf, I think is probably the good word. Even I think any liberal that actually pays attention to politics and is actually somewhat informed, kind of sided against this speech. He has to own certain aspects of the government.
All right, let's do one piece of listener feedback from the YouTube, and then we'll start wrapping this shit show up. Josh would like to know which of the 4 boxes we're currently on. For everyone out in Rio Rhinelander, the 4 boxes are the soap box, the ballot box, the jury box, and the ammunition box.
I mean, right this second, I would say we're on the soapbox because we're broadcasting this live on the internet. But
yeah. And we're not allowed to say the ammo box. So
for liability reasons, our lawyers have encouraged us not to talk about the ammunition box.
I will say this: if we do get to that point, our drunk American friend has said several times, when this show goes off the air, that's when it's time to lock and load, gentlemen and ladies.
And the other 52 types of kin.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. Excellent point, Andrew. Thank you for including them.
If they're with us and overthrowing this government violently, I will get behind it then. But
I think we're still on our soapbox, and the ballot box I don't think worked in the last election. But hey, 2.5 more years, we can try again.
I would definitely say we're kind of 1 and 2, maybe 3, depending.
All right. So here's the question. I honestly have a question for you. And the Conservative leader, do you think that the average Canadian is paying attention enough to Trudeau to vote against him?
No.
Dear Canada, you.
Yeah.
No.
Do I think the average liberal voter is paying attention to anything? No.
I don't think it matters who the Conservative leader is. I think that the next election, it's going to go Trudeau again.
Unfortunately, I agree.
It's going to be Omar Khadr. So far, it's going to be Omar Khadr and Giant Yellow Duck.
And that's
when it comes down to
meaningless in 2 years.
Yep. But like you pointed out, it's just we have only ourselves to blame. And I'm not going to attack the listener because the listeners are a very small percentage of a very small percentage. But like, if you said like if every firearms owner got a Liberal Party leader's like membership and voted for the Liberal Party leader, like we wouldn't even have Trudeau as a prime minister right now.
If firearms owners voted as a bloc, we would own politics.
Yes. And you're talking about 8% of
We
the
are a-
population.
Well, all it takes is three.
Yeah. If 2 million Canadians would vote as a bloc in their own interest, we could own politics.
Yeah.
Like I said, we spoke about the Conservative election. There was a lot of bitching that Mad Max did not win. That 140,000 people voted total in the Conservative election. There's 2 million firearms owners.
Yeah. So you're talking about
So-
70,000 people chose the majority.
Yeah.
Yes. And the way, like, I do not disagree with the ranked ballot that the Conservatives ran. I think in terms of a Conservative trying to elect a leader, that ballot makes sense. And the only thing that's required to elect someone is to show up. So when it comes to between the two of them, more people preferred Scheer over Bernier. And Scheer was elected.
Wow.
That's
I don't know if
that's
I
how
worded
it
that
works.
way, but
Yeah. So I want to...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is
So-
how to word it.
So the
More
all-
people put Scheer higher on their ballots than put Bernier on their
Yes.
ballots.
Yes. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Bernier was Quebec, even though I think he was running on superior platforms. But I just want to implore you guys, like any listener out there, you don't need to get your friends to listen to the podcast. But the next time it comes time to choose a leader, whether it's for the CPP or whether we're trying to get you to interfere and help guide the Liberal leadership, or if it's a federal election or a provincial, like try to get 4 friends or 5 friends out there voting with you. Have a couple of beer, buy them a beer, and say, "Come on out and let's make a difference in Canadian politics." Because this is bullshit. Unless you want $10.5 million payouts all the time, and God knows what we gave those 3 guys from Syria, and you want giant yellow ducks all over the place. Like we've got to make a change here, guys. This
Hey,
is what
if we're
this
gonna-
podcast is all
if it
about.
comes down to paying for terrorists or paying for giant yellow ducks, I'll take giant yellow ducks every time. Every time.
That's because you've never liked the Dutch though.
To be fair,
I like gold.
small hands.
Go.
Small
Dutch
hands.
it.
Small like
Get a
cabbage.
pancake.
So we're going
It's a
to take down notice for that. All right, let's.
No, it's cool because it's not.
Anyways, we have the numbers. We have the numbers to control Canadian politics. We're just we just fight too much amongst ourselves to
Yeah, we
actually
can't even
utilize it.
agree. We can't even agree amongst ourselves on what is and isn't appropriate for guns.
Oh, we can agree.
That's
No, we
fine.
can't.
We're
Right.
just-
Anything
everybody-
more than a cooey single shot is an assault weapon.
and
No.
everyone should have an assault weapon. There,
Pump
problem
the brakes,
solved.
there, Marty. Pump the brakes.
All right, let's wrap this up. Is there anything else in the show notes that I've missed? No? Good. There's a note from Tyler. We're taking that out. Let's do the outro. Gavin, where can people find you on the internet?
The best place to find me is on Instagram at urbex_GTA or on Facebook. You can find me, with the podcast and like Ragnarok Technical or Toxic Kodiak Pathfinders.
What about your beard friends?
You need to be part of the club for them. So. But yes, you can also find me as part of the Tactical Beard Owners Club. If you have a beard and you want to join, shoot me a message.
I have a beard.
There you go.
Not very good, but
This is
It's not very tactical yet.
Not yet.
We'll work on that. Once Sean finally gets us out to go visit him at his range and we get them trained up, we'll get you on board.
We already had Earl Green train us up. We need some Andrew Vincent and Gavin McCary.
Does he have as amazing beards as Andrew and I? Does he wear multicam?
No. He has like a baby face.
He wears multicam and he is clean shaven.
Well,
He is also dating a woman that is half his age, so I can honestly
There you
say that makes up for the lack of beard. So.
Does he have a "Don't Tread on Me" tattoo though?
Probably in places I cannot look. I don't know him that well.
Fair.
Marty, do you have closing comments?
Of course not.
Excellent. Sean, where can people find you on the internet?
Go to the CCFR, check that stuff out. I don't really post on there, but you can get me through there. Also, my Facebook's, Instagram, Anakin44. And yeah.
Tim, where can people find you?
You can find me at timsgoodtshirts.ca or facebook.com/timsgoodtshirts. That's where you can find me.
If anyone's looking for me, I'll be at Montgomery's Tavern.
Well,
For all of our listeners. Oh, I almost forgot. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaka. I'm sorry we couldn't fit you into the show. Our 60-minute episode turned into, what are we on now? An hour and 40.
Yeah.
With at it.
Yeah,
So we were killing time while you were disappeared.
Well, I'm sorry. The RCMP is messing with my internets today.
Yep. And we also have taken a lot of pills that are the color black.
Or blue.
Can I just say that my 300 kilobit per second upload speed worked just fine today?
Yeah, you were good.
Yes, you can.
Bravo.
And I'm very proud of you.
Anyway.
For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true north, strong and free.